with the Brother CS5055. I'm going to show you how to make a buttonhole and a bar tack and how to put buttons on. So first, the buttonholes. There are 7 different preset buttonholes in this machine, which is really nice. A lot of times, you know, if you just get more than one, you're doing well. But there are 7 different presets. This last one right here, this is your bar tack, which we'll look at the end. But these first 7, these are all different, you know, patterns that you can make your buttonholes. Now, buttonholes have always intimidated me because they are the last thing usually that you do. So you've already got a lot of time invested in your garment, and I've messed up a lot of buttonholes, I'll just be honest. But this machine does an excellent job of consistent, really good buttonholes. So I'm excited for this. What you're going to need is your buttonhole foot. I think this is foot A. It's the long white foot. You will need, and later on when we put the buttons on, button M looks like this. It's got the little blue plastic part on the end, but this is for the button. You will need the button. You can't make a buttonhole the right size unless you know what size the button is. So you're going to need your button. The seam ripper, as we all know, this is another thing I'm definitely afraid of. But you're going to need your seam ripper or a sharp pair of little tiny scissors. I've done it with those. And while a gauge is not necessary, it is very helpful. You might need something to measure with. Especially if you're going to try to do a bar tack. So you'll need a tape measure or this, whatever. So that's what we're going to need, the machine. And I'll come around to the other side and we'll see if we can make a few buttonholes. Now before you put this on, we need to put the button in it. This machine does automatically sized buttonholes, which is fantastic. So first, just push that bar out some. Then we're going to take the button and you just put it right in there and then slide this back down so that it holds your button tightly. And you need to get it, make sure it's in there centered, and then you can snug it down like that. Okay, now we need to put the foot on the machine. Before you put the foot on the machine, take your top thread, not your bobbin thread, but your top thread, and you're going to insert it right in that little hole right there. Just push it right through the hole. Okay, so it's going right through that little hole right there, and keep pulling it through. This little metal bar right here is going to fit right here in the little half circle thing right there. Just put it, sometimes you have to lift the foot up a little bit and then put it under there. You can get it right in the right position, and then let the foot down and it will snap on. Okay, and then lift your foot back up. So now we have the correct foot on. We have the thread down into the hole right underneath the needle, and I have both I have the bobbin thread and the top thread together over here on the left side. So I've got them out of the way. Now we need to select a buttonhole. I'm just going to go with number 30, just the plain bar tack buttonhole. And so you're going to choose number 3. You know, this one works the ones digits, so that's how you get to number 30. That's all there is to selecting. Now, you need to mark your buttonhole on your fabric. Okay, so first we need to measure the button. And you don't have to stress over this if you just get close, because the automatic buttonholer is actually going to make the buttonhole just the right size. What you're doing now is we want to know where to start the buttonhole. So we're just trying to get, you know, an eyeball on it. So I have the size of my button. Now remember, the size of your buttonhole is not just going to be based on the diameter of your button, but also the thickness of it. That comes into play as well. So scoot that back just a little. Now, this is how big my button is, so I'm going to make a little mark here on my fabric. And like I said, that is just going to show me where to line up the button foot or the buttonhole foot to start my buttonhole. Okay, so now we're ready for the machine. So we're all set. We have selected stitch number 30. We have measured our button and marked off a buttonhole. We have the button in the back of the buttonhole foot, and we have the buttonhole foot installed. So let us slide the fabric under here. Now notice I've got my threads coming off to the left. So I try to slide it in there and not disturb that. So it's impossible to get a clear shot of the alignment while it's in the machine. So I'm going to take it off to show you what I'm doing. On the buttonhole foot, you see these colored marks, the red and the green. And then this was the front end of my buttonhole. So when I align that underneath the machine, I need that mark to align with the red mark straight up and down, and then with the green and red mark going right across. Okay, so with the red mark going this way and the green and the red going that way, that's where you want your buttonhole to start. You're also going to make sure that your buttonhole foot, the edge of it, is straight with your fabric, because however this is aligned, that's how your buttonhole is fixing to go. You're not going to guide your fabric at all. So once you get this aligned, you've got to make sure that it's straight with your edge, and that the green and reds, the green ones are aligned with the very bottom of your buttonhole, and the red one is aligned with the center of it. The next step is to engage the buttonhole function, and that's done with this little gray flap that's right behind your needle. It's got an A, it says A2 written on it, and it's actually got a little picture of a buttonhole. So we're going to need to pull this all the way down gently, because it is just plastic. All of them are. So you're going to pull this all the way down. Now it needs to go behind this square peg on your foot. It needs to be behind that. And it's these two parts of the foot that actually tell your machine where to stop and it's measured by the button. And you know, you don't even have to have the button in here. Once you measure the button, you could take it out and just leave the setting and it'll still go. But anyway, so now that you have that pulled down and it is lodged behind this post, we are ready to turn it around. And we are ready to sew this first buttonhole. So hold your tails, you're not pulling on them, you're just holding them. And you're ready to press down on the foot pedal. Now you have to know what your buttonhole or what the machine is fixing to do. So this is where a few practice rounds come in. So just watch the way it takes its stitches. Okay, and when it gets to the end, it's going to take a couple of securing stitches like that. It slows up on its own. I still have the same amount of pressure on the foot pedal. It slows up on its own. So once it takes those couple of slow stitches, let up on the foot pedal. And then you are ready to raise your foot pedal. And you have your very first, sorry the light's not very good right now. You have your very first buttonhole. Now, how to finish it off? Well, this thread down here that was your beginning thread, it has already been secured by these stitches on the side, so you can just snip it off. Now this one, what I like to do, this is just something my mother always taught me. Now this is the end that just finished. If you pull that thread, it will pull up a loop from the front, and you can pull that to the back. Now I usually tie a knot in those, but you can just leave them as they are, just snip them off. So get those off, and like I said, I would tie a knot in these two before I snipped if I were making a garment. But I'll just clip them off, and there's your first buttonhole. Now to open up our buttonhole, and what you're going to do is you're going to go from one end to the center and from this end to the center. You're not going to start at one end and go all the way to the other end, because that is an excellent way to slip and cut through the end of a buttonhole. You can, if you know anybody that sews, they will tell you they have at least done this at least once, and it is very hard to fix. It's not impossible, but it's hard. So now when you poke this through, watch your finger on the other side, because that point is coming through. See, I have my fingers spread apart right here. So this is going to go in. Now, I'm going to ease it up. You don't want to cut any of those stitches on the side, but you're just going to ease it up about halfway. Then you're going to turn it upside down, start at the other end, same thing, and you're going to ease it right on up until you come to the center, and then you have cut your buttonhole, and it does not, you didn't risk cutting through the end, and you can pull out the stray threads if you want to. Okay, so that is the buttonhole. And like I said, this machine has 7 different ones that you can choose from. So that's pretty cool. Now let's look at the bar tack. Where do you use a bar tack? Bar tacks are found where you need a little extra reinforcement. Like on blue jeans, this right here at the corner of the back pocket, that's a bar tack, because that's a place where pockets come undone a lot. Also on this shirt, there are bar tacks on the front pocket, and they go diagonally. I thought that was kind of interesting. Never really noticed bar tacks a whole lot. And if you notice, I had to go get men's clothing to find bar tacks. I actually couldn't find any on any of mine. So this is what a bar tack looks like, and reinforcement is all it's done. Is all it does. And I guess you could use it for decorative, but you know, anywhere that you need some extra support. So let's see how to make one. So how to make a bar tack. You're still going to need your buttonhole foot. Now, because it's just a bar, you don't have a button. So measure how long do you want the bar tack. You know, look at the space where you're fixing to put it. And let's say I want the bar tack that long. Well, take your handy dandy button foot here, and we're just going to squeeze this down until the space there is the same as what I want my bar tack to be. Okay, and like I said, you don't even have to have a button in here to make it work. It'll work just like this. So once again, we're going to take the thread that's in the needle, and I'm going to put it through the hole right there. And then I will raise the foot up an extra little bit and slip that little bar right there into the post. Now I have my threads off to the left. I have my bar tack measured, and let's just say that's where I want it. And like I said, the main thing is where do you want it to start, because the machine is going to stop it on its own. So I'm going to slip this under here, and I'm going to align my starting point centered with the center red mark and beginning at the 2 green marks on either side. That's going to tell me exactly, and then make sure that your side of your fabric is straight with the side of your foot, otherwise you're going to get a crooked one. Okay, we need to pick the bar tack function. The bar tack is stitch number 36, so I'm already at 30. I can just hit the plus button until I'm at 36 now. So, and you can actually adjust the width of it just a little bit if you want to. The default setting is at 2, so I'm just going to leave it there. And now you are ready to go. Get your foot pedal and just give it a little bit of gas. Hold your threads out to the left so they don't get tangled up under there. And it's going to go from front all the way to the back until the foot stops it, and it's coming back. This is like a tie down stitch. It's going to make a couple of rows just straight stitching, and now it's going to the zigzag. And you see how it got slow? That means it's done. So you can let up the pressure on your foot pedal, raise your presser foot, and bring it out to the side. And there is your bar tack, should you need one. Okay. All right, now let's look at how to put on the button. Before we put the button foot on, we've got to remember to disengage the buttonhole. So push that buttonhole lever back up in there, the one you pull down, push that back up in there. The first thing you have to do when we get ready to sew a button on is we're going to have to disengage the feed dog system. Now, the feed dogs are these little things that have teeth under here, the little metal things that are like zigzag, and that's what moves your fabric through under the needle. Now on the back here, this is your feed dogs. Some machines don't have this, and what you have to do is use a plate to cover them up. This machine does have droppable feed dogs. So what you want to do, and you can see it's got like little triangles that stick up, and on the right side it shows the triangles going through the line. On the left side it shows the triangles just coming right up to the line. So for disengaged, we're going to want this setting on the left. You just slip this over to the left and your feed dogs drop down, and they won't try to move anything through there. The needle just goes up and down on its own, which is what we want when we're trying to sew on a button. Now, a word of caution. When you get through sewing on your button or anything that you've disengaged this, re-engage it. Otherwise, when you get ready to sew again, you'll put your fabric under there and it won't go anywhere, and you'll forget that you have disengaged those feed dogs. So always re-engage them immediately after you're through doing whatever you need to do. Okay? Now let's put the button foot on. The button foot is the M foot. It's got the little blue thing on it. The blue part goes to the front. So just slip it up under, and like I said, sometimes you'll have to raise that up a little bit higher, and then drop that shaft down and it should engage. Lift it up to be sure that your foot is in there. So we have the foot on. I have the fabric marked, and I'm going to slide it up so that the mark I have is aligned right with the center of the foot, and you can see a very small little notch right there in the center. Then I'm going to slip the button up under there, and I need the holes right in the middle there, and let it down. Now let's select our stitch. We're going to use stitch number 4, which is just a basic zigzag stitch. So let's press, this will be 0, and now I'm on 0, 4. Okay. Now I'm going to check my stitch width to begin with, and I'm going to turn the hand wheel towards me very slowly and watch the needle, and I'm going to see if it clears the button from side to side. All right, the first one, it's going in the hole nicely. Now on the other side, it is actually going in perfectly. So I'm ready to push the foot pedal and just sew. About 7 or 8 times is going to be plenty. Now let me show you what to do if it doesn't clear those 2 holes. Okay, this number right here, the one where the picture shows you a little side-to-side zigzag, this is your stitch width. So if it's too far, if it's going too far to the edges, if it's hitting the outside edges, you're going to reduce that. Just hit your minus button and then test it. If it's not going far enough, you hit the plus button and you widen it out a little bit, okay? So once you get it adjusted, then you can sew your 7 to 8 stitches. If you're doing a 2-hole button, then you're finished. But I'm doing a 4-hole button, so let's see what to do next. So I have sewn the front 2 buttons. So what I'm going to do is, very carefully, I'm going to lift up the foot and I'm going to slide it down just a little bit so that now those back 2 holes are where I need them. And once again, I'm going to check to see by turning the hand wheel towards me, make sure that it is clearing both sides of that button, otherwise you'll break a needle. So then I'm ready to give it a little bit of foot pedal gas. And that should be plenty. Then you can lift up and pull out your button. So here's the back side of the button. And if you want to make a really nice clean finish, now the first hole you're not going to be able to pull that through, so you just need to clip that as close as possible. And then the other one, sometimes I can make it do, sometimes I can't. When you pull it through, there's a little loop there, and that pulls through the thread from the front side. So you can tie that in a knot and then clip it. Now the first one, you're just going to have to snip it off close. Okay? And that's a button. So that was today's lesson on the CS5055. We covered buttonholes, bar tacks, and buttons. I really hope that was helpful, and I really hope the shots weren't too blurry and I got in close enough. Sometimes that's a challenge. But anyway, I thank you for watching and spending some time with me here in Mom's Kitchen. Just let me know if there's specific topics that I can get to for you. I have a pretty long list, so I'm working on those. But I really appreciate y'all watching and commenting. Subscribing is always good, and a like never hurts. Thank y'all. See you later. Bye.